Namaskar, this is Tathagata Roy. I happen to be the governor of Meghalaya, but over here I would like to be better known as the biographer of a great man whose name was Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee. We have on the 20th of this month is a very special day in our lives because that is the day on which the undivided Bengal Assembly voted to partition Bengal as a consequence of the partition of India on 20th June 1947, and thereby we got the state of West Bengal. The significance of the state of West Bengal or getting the state of West Bengal has been lost on a lot of people because we have been taught the wrong history. Now, today I'm going to talk about this significance and how exactly it came about and other achievements of Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee. Let me begin with the significance. See, unless this thing had been done, Bengal as a undivided Bengal as a province would have gone entirely to Pakistan because Bengal had a Muslim majority. The population of Bengal at that time was roughly 53% Muslim and 47% Hindu. Therefore, Jinnah and the Muslim League people, and plus a few others also, they had advocated that the whole of Bengal should go to Pakistan. Now, this is the first part of the significance. The second part of the significance is that if whole of Bengal had gone to Pakistan, the whole of the Northeast would have been disconnected from India. And thereafter, the Muslim population of Bengal would have overrun the Northeast, with the result that eventually the population of the Northeast would have also got to come to India by traversing undivided Bengal, that is the part which has gone to Pakistan. Plus the minority Hindus of Pakistan, what would have been Pakistan, that is undivided Bengal, they would also have to come to West Bengal. So therefore, the map of India would look like something in which the part west of Bihar would have been, east of Bihar would have been missing. This did not happen because West Bengal was created as a part of India, and this West Bengal provided a connection to the Northeast, that is the state of Assam. At that time, it was all Assam, plus the princely states of Kuch Bihar and Tripura, and not Kuch Bihar. Kuch Bihar, yes, then Tripura and Manipur. And this is the principal significance of the partition of Bengal as a consequence of the partition of India. And this was made possible almost 100% through the efforts of just one person, whose name is Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee. It is as a result of this partition of Bengal that the Bengali Hindus had a province to call their home. And the Bengali Hindus did not suffer what the East Bengali Hindus or East Pakistani Hindus suffered in another 3 years. In 1950, 3 years after partition and the formation of East Pakistan or East Bengal, there was a terrible pogrom engineered by the Pakistani state, whereby 50,000 Hindus were killed in East Bengal, and a very large number of them, among them the principal intellectual class of East Bengal, had to flee to West Bengal under terrible conditions. This would not have been possible In fact, they would have had to either convert or jump into the Bay of Bengal or wander all over India in search of some refuge if Dr. Mukherjee had not created West Bengal. So this is the significance. This is something which has got to be very carefully understood. It's just like the partition of Punjab. If Punjab had not been partitioned, then the Hindus and Sikhs of the Pakistani part of the Punjab, West Punjab, they would not have found any place to stay. And they would have been dispersed all over India. And particularly the unfortunate people in this regard were the Sindhis, Sindhi Hindus, who were majority in two districts, Umarkot and Tharparkar, and the principal city, that is Karachi and Hyderabad, they were the majority. In spite of that, they were made refugees because the short-sighted Congress leaders of Sindh did not agree to partition Sindh. As opposed to that, it is God's blessing that we had a person like Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee. Now let us look at what kind of a person this Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee was. We would, or those who are not familiar with his biography, would be surprised to know that he did not begin life as a politician, nor did he intend to do so. His chosen forte was as an educator. His father was the celebrated Sir Ashutosh Mukherjee, who had raised the Calcutta University to dizzy heights of academic excellence, from where a number of Nobel laureates have emerged, among them C.V. Raman and several others. Before partition, it was C.V. Raman. Rabindranath Tagore also, although he did not formally attend the Calcutta University, but he was an honorary professor in Calcutta University. And Sir Ronald Ross, he also was affiliated to Calcutta University, where he got his Nobel Prize. Now, this Sir Ashutosh intended Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee, his second son, to be an educator just like him and look after the university. And Dr. Mukherjee executed this desire of his father absolutely to a T. So much so that in 1924, when Sir Ashutosh Mukherjee died an early death, Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee stepped into his shoes and became a member of the Calcutta University Syndicate. And after that, it was practically he, a 23-year-old man, 24-year-old man, 23-year-old. He was born in 1901, a 23-year-old man running the university. But he did it with such skill, such aplomb, such great devotion, that Acharya Prafulla Chandra Rai, a great chemist, a great scientist, another great educator, he had said about Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee that you have become a Baap ka beta. Anyway, this way Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee carried on. In 1929, he decided to enter the Bengal Legislative Assembly, Bengal Legislative Council, because he thought that by being a member of the council, he would be able to serve the cause of the university by placing before the members, before the council, the problems of the university. And he entered on a Congress ticket. He won hands down. But within a year, Congress took a decision that they were not going to attend the council unless the British government gave an undertaking of complete Swaraj, independence. British government obviously did not do anything, and therefore Congress walked out of the Bengal Assembly. Dr. Mukherjee resigned together with the Congress, and then he came back. He differed with the Congress on this ground, and he came back and he sought election in the same position, same slot as an independent candidate and won once again hands down. Thereafter, he was a member of the Bengal Legislative Council and carried on as such. He became youngest vice chancellor ever in India, in any Indian university at the age of 33 in the year 1934, remained there for 2 terms until 1938. Now, in between, something very interesting happened. See, in 1935, the British Parliament passed a law which was called the Indian Government of India Act. This Government of India Act it was a sort of a constitution, but constitution subject to British suzerainty. And this constitution or this British Government of India Act provided that there would be elections in each of the provinces, and the provinces would thereafter become self-governing. The cabinet, elected cabinet in each of the provinces would have autonomy in running the affairs of the province. But above everything, there would be a British governor in the province who would have overriding powers if necessary. He could veto any decision of the government, any decision of the cabinet. In any case, it provided a lot of autonomy compared to what was existing before. What was existing before was called diarchy, dating back from the date of the Montagu-Chelmsford reforms of 1990. In any case, the elections subsequent to this new Government of India Act took place in 1937. And there was an interesting result in Bengal. There were three principal parties: the Congress, the Muslim League, and a party called the Krishak Praja Party, headed by a person called Fazlul Haq, A.K. Fazlul Haq. Now, Congress, of course, we all know what they are. The Muslim League, also we know, it is because of their demand that the partition was created, the India was partitioned. Of course, Congress conceded to it. Muslim League demanded, Congress conceded, and that is why India was partitioned in 1947. The third party, of which most people don't know, was this Krishak Praja Party, which was basically a peasants' party. And the peasants happened to be largely Muslim, very largely Muslim, almost 90% Muslim. Therefore, in effect, this party became a Muslim party, and as opposed to that, the Muslim League remained a Muslim Zamindars party. But this Krishak Praja Party was not a overtly communal party. I mean, there were people, there were communal elements, but the leader, who was a sort of supreme leader, A.K. Fazlul Haq, he was not by nature a communal person. His only problem was that he was always dying for office. He craved for power all the time. And he was very easily swayed from one position to another. It was very easy to persuade him to change his position. So now, in 37 elections in undivided Bengal, what happened is that these three parties, none of them got absolute majority. The obvious thing in such circumstances would have been for the Congress to align with the Krishak Praja Party so that there would be a government which was more or less on the whole irreligious, secular as we call it now. But for some strange reason, Congress refused to form this. It's a long story, actually, I'm not going into that. But Congress refused to go into coalition with Krishak Praja Party and said that we'll sit in opposition. God alone knows what made them do it. There are some reasons which are on the surface, but below the surface, there were a lot of reasons which we will not go to at the moment. Now then, what happened is, after this thing was done, the Krishak Praja Party was practically pushed into the lap of the Muslim League. And because the Krishak Praja Party happened to be populated and almost entirely by Muslims, it became, in effect, a Muslim League government. And this Muslim League government, it completely overawed the Fazlul Haq, made him chief minister or premier at that time they used to call it, made him premier and sorry, thereafter started draconian anti-Hindu measures in the state. What kind of anti-Hindu measures? They said that the government jobs, that is, jobs given by the provincial government in the province of Bengal, was largely populated by the Hindus. Why? Obvious reasons, because the Hindus were more qualified, the Hindus had studied, whereas the Muslims had withdrawn into a cocoon and they wouldn't study. They were they were busy with their madrasas, their religious institutions and such like. So the British took the Hindus and the government jobs were mostly held by the Hindus. Now the Muslim League legislated that there should be proportional representation. 53% of the population is Muslim, so there should be more than half the staff should be Muslim. And in order to do that, they said that until this proportion is achieved among the government employees, not a single Hindu would be taken. You cannot imagine what kind of draconian measures were taken at that time, but they were taken. As a result of this, the Hindus rebelled. But the Hindus needed a leader. There was no leader. Of course, there was Sharat Chandra Bose. Sharat Chandra Bose, the elder brother of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, and of course there was Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. But the trouble is, in 1939, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose had fought with Gandhi and was made to leave the Congress. That is a very heinous conspiracy which was hatched by the person that I've just now named. I would not like to go into it right now, but by this thing, Subhash Chandra Bose, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose had been thrown out of the political mainstream. Now his elder brother, Sharat Chandra Bose, was still in the political mainstream. He was the leader of the Congress. But then the Congress had decided, the Congress was not a provincial party, it was an all India party, and at the all India level, the Congress had decided that they would not enter into a coalition with the Krishak Praja Party. So he was as good as not being there. Then the Hindu leaders decided that the only person who could be here, who could be taken under these circumstances, who could be counted upon, was Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee. Until this time, he had not been in politics at all. But people like Swami Pranavanandaji, who had founded the Bharat Sevashram Sangh, then leaders like Ashutosh Lahiri, N.C. Chatterjee, and several others, they persuaded Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee to enter politics. Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee had no taste for Congress politics because he saw that the way the Congress was running politics in the state was detrimental to the interests of the minority Hindus, who constituted 47% of the population, and things were going from bad to worse for these Hindus. Therefore, he decided that the only party to join was the Hindu Mahasabha, and he joined. He joined the Hindu Mahasabha in 1939. And in 1940, the Hindu Mahasabha is an all India party, mind you. And in 1940, this All India Hindu Mahasabha chose him as the All India Working President, because the president was Veer Savarkar, Vinayak Damodar Savarkar. But he was keeping very bad health. He had been horribly treated in the Andaman's cellular jail. And therefore, they needed a working president, and Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee was made the working president. After becoming working president, Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee decided that he must wean away, he must take away Fazlul Haq from the clutches of the Muslim League, because Fazlul Haq basically was not a communal person. He was a secular person, but he was crazy for power and he was with the Muslim League only for power. But Fazlul Haq happened to be the chamber junior of Sir Ashutosh Mukherjee, that is Syama Prasad Mukherjee's father. So Fazlul Haq was set upon, so to say, by Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee, and Dr. Mukherjee persuaded him to come out of that coalition and form a coalition, form a government, not with the Congress, because the Congress would not become part of the government, but the Congress would support it. And then new government was formed by deposing the Muslim League. This was a great achievement of Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee, that he was able to throw off the Muslim League. And this could be done in spite of the fact that the governor of West Bengal at that time, Sir John Herbert, he was totally in favor of the Muslim League. So Dr. Mukherjee formed a cabinet with Fazlul Haq, and he was so powerful in the cabinet as finance minister that it was called the Syama Haq cabinet. Syama Haq. Although its formal name was the Progressive Democratic Coalition, still it was, people used to refer to it as the Syama Haq cabinet. This Syama Haq cabinet gave the Hindus and the Muslims a taste of what proper, secular, irreligious administration should be in Bengal. But the governor was always conspiring against it, and somehow he deposed Dr. Mukherjee. Now comes the great achievements of Dr. Mukherjee, apart from deposing the Muslim League. Now, as soon as the Muslim League was put in power by the governor, Sir John Herbert, they again started their anti-Hindu measures, and Dr. Mukherjee protested against them, spoke against them. He was a powerful orator. He used to lambast these Muslim League leaders. They were European members also in the assembly and the council. He used to lambast them, and they didn't have any word to say in reply to him. But he was thrown out of power. Meanwhile, in 1942, there was this, what we call the Quit India movement launched by the Congress. Now, Dr. Mukherjee did not subscribe to the Quit India movement. For that matter, Ambedkarji, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, he also did not subscribe. The reason why Dr. Mukherjee differed with the Congress regarding the Quit India movement was that he did not differ with the patriotic content of the movement. But he said that quit India and then give power to whom? That is not laid down in the Quit India resolution. The British quit, and nobody knows to whom power will go, and things go on merrily. Is it possible to run a country like India like that? It is impossible. And that is why he said that he doesn't agree with the Quit India movement, and he continued to be there in the Bengal Assembly and do his usual political duties. What happened after this Quit India movement was launched is that At that time, the Governor General and Viceroy of India was one Lord Linlithgow. This Lord Linlithgow had got wind through his espionage network that Dr. Syama Prasad, that the Quit India movement was about to be launched. So as soon as it was launched, he put all the Congress leaders inside jail. So there was nobody in the whole Congress or in the country to give leadership. As a result, the Quit India movement became a disjointed movement and it did not really achieve anything. It was a very heroic measure. It was a very patriotic measure. Syama Prasad Mukherjee admitted that, but he did not achieve anything. Of course, Muslim League did not join in it. There is no question of that. As I said, Ambedkar's Scheduled Caste Federation also did not join in it. There was a small faction of the Congress which also did not join, which was led by Chakraborty Rajagopalachari. And that is what it was like in 1942. In 1942, on 1942 October, there was an incident in Bengal, which is one of the blows of nature, so to say. There's a place called Kontai or Kathi, close to the Bengal-Odisha border. This place called Kathi is very near to the sea, about 15, 16 kilometers and on plain ground, level ground. Now, on Durga Puja Ashtami Day, which is the main day for Durga Puja, sometime in the month of October 1942, there was a cyclone and possibly a tsunami also together in this place called Kathi and thereabouts, as a result of which 30,000 people died in a period of 15 minutes. 30,000 people in 15 minutes because they had gone out to see the pujas and they were swept away by the water of the sea. That is the way it happened. And this thing triggered a famine. Now, this was not the only reason for the famine. The reason for the famine was primarily the fact that Governor Herbert had got very panicky. At this time, the Japanese had taken over Burma. They drove out the British. They had driven out the British from Singapore and Malaya also. They progressed to Burma and they took over Burma. And after taking over Burma, it appeared that they are going to come to India and their first stop would be Bengal. That is the district of Chittagong, now in Bangladesh. Now, this made this Governor Herbert lose all sense. And he decided to follow a scorched earth policy. Now, we all know what a scorched earth policy is. The scorched earth policy is that you destroy whatever foodstuff, whatever standing crops are there in your own country so that this cannot be taken advantage of by the enemy. Their supply lines get stretched and eventually it works out to their detriment. Now, at that time, a lot of people said that the Japanese had no intention to come to Bengal. They had taken over Burma because they wanted a connection to the sea from Eastern China, Western China. But this Herbert was crazed with fear and he started destroying standing crops, destroying foodstuff, destroying means of transportation. As a result of that, whatever little foodstuff was there, all gravitated to where the purchasing power was. That is the city of Calcutta. And the countryside starved. And you'd be surprised to know what happened during that time. Those of you who have seen the Bengali film Akaler Shandhani would know what it was like. The price of rice, which is the staple food of Bengalis, before the scorched earth policy was put into action by Governor Herbert, was about 2 rupees a mond. At that time, this unit of mond was in vogue. A mond is roughly 36 kilograms or roughly 80 pounds. Now, instead of this 2 rupees a mond, the price of rice started skyrocketing. And it went up to 100 rupees a mond. As a result of that, the countryside, the peasants whose crops were taken away by the military and destroyed, and who had no money to buy the rice at this exorbitant price, they starved. And they starved horribly. And then there was nothing to be got by begging. So they came down to Calcutta to beg. And there they used to beg for fan. You know, fan is also known as kanji, which is the supernatant liquid that we pour off after we boil rice. And they used to beg for fan. And even that fan was very difficult to get for most people. As a result, they died like flies. I once received a letter from a lady following an article that I wrote in a paper, in a Bengali paper called Desh. That lady said that I had to walk some half a kilometer to get a tram to go to Ashutosh College. And this half a kilometer I had to traipse. I had to run over corpses who had lain on the road and who had died because of starvation. 50 lakhs of people died. That is the maximum. Some say it is 30 lakhs, some say it is 35 lakhs, but the maximum number is said to have been 50 lakhs. 50 lakhs of people died. And this was confined to Bengal. This famine could have been controlled by bringing rice from elsewhere. But this was not done. As a result of this, this huge number of people died. Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee at that time showed extraordinary energy in doing famine relief. A lot of famine relief committees had been set up, like the Gujarati Famine Relief Committee, the Marwari Relief Society, the Arya Samaj Famine Relief Committee. But there was no coordination in the work of all these famine relief committees. Dr. Mukherjee was a person on whom everybody had confidence, and therefore he was the person who got into this famine relief business, and he coordinated all these functions, with the result that the people who were the affected people got something to eat. But there were a huge lot of casualties, as I said. A lot of people died directly from starvation. Many people died from diseases caused by starvation. And many people died because after starvation, they got something to eat and they gobbled it. And their emaciated bodies could not take that stuff. But Dr. Mukherjee worked indefatigably to provide relief. So much so that at this time, around this time, the wedding of his eldest daughter had been arranged, Shobita Banerjee. She herself told me. And Dr. Mukherjee could not attend this wedding. Dr. Mukherjee could not attend this wedding because he was looking after famine relief. Then Shobita Banerjee told me when I went to interview her in Pune to write Dr. Mukherjee's biography, that she said that I was very upset, and when my father finally came the next day to bless me, I said, no, you don't come anywhere near me. During my wedding, where were you? Then Dr. Mukherjee said that I was feeding people, and you should have seen the faces of those people upon getting some food. Horrible stories surfaced. In Midnapur, one of the worst affected districts by the famine, in Midnapur, there was a man found dead on the bank of a river from swallowing sand. He was so hungry that he had swallowed sand from the river and died from it. Can you imagine? But Dr. Mukherjee was one person who worked indefatigably in this famine relief, in spite of a lot of non-cooperation from the British, because Herbert and Lithgow, they said that right now our only job is to run the war and provide foodstuff for the military. We are not bothered particularly about the civilian population. Dr. Mukherjee's next achievement was some 3 years later in 1946. During this time, until 1945, all the Congress leaders were in jail. In 45, they were released from jail. Once the Second World War was over, they were released from jail. Then they started campaigning. There was supposed to be an election in 1945. The election was held. And in this election, the Congress got all the Hindu seats and the Muslim League got all the Muslim seats. The whole electorate was so polarized. The Congress kept on saying that we are a party for the Hindus and Muslims equally. Muslim League said, no, we are a party only for the Muslims. And the Muslims voted for the Muslim League. But the Congress did not look after the Hindus because they kept on saying that we are, for us, the Hindus and Muslims are equal. In this situation, Dr. Mukherjee saw that something needed to be done for the Hindus. But because Congress had won the Hindu votes hands down, Hindu electorate, at that time they were separate electorates, under the 1935 Act, Government of India Act, of which I have spoken a little while back. They were separate electorates because the Congress had got all the Hindu votes. Dr. Mukherjee was very handicapped, but even so, he kept on working. Meanwhile, the demand for Pakistan was gradually being pushed with more and more gusto by Muhammad Ali Jinnah. And Congress was not in a position to resist it because Jinnah, for all his bad qualities, had tremendous willpower. And he kept on hammering it. I must have Pakistan, I must have Pakistan, I must have Pakistan. In between, a lot of political mistakes were committed by the Congress, which I will not go into in this talk. But at one point of time, Jinnah said, oh, you think you will not concede Pakistan. I'll show you something else. And what was that something else? He said that we will go to direct action. Direct action. And what is direct action? Jinnah said, in a sort of a notification given to the general public, he said that today we bid goodbye to all constitutional methods. Today we bid goodbye to all constitutional methods. And today we have forged a pistol and we are in a position to use it. But till then, nobody knew what this direct action was going to be like. The day for direct action was said to be 16th of August 1946, and the location was supposed to be Calcutta. But nobody knew what it was like, and the Hindus joked about it, and then they asked their Muslim friends. Yeah, but they were friends. Hindus and Muslims were friends. So they asked their Muslim friends, what are you going to do? This Muslim friend said, no. The whole thing was planned by word of mouth. There was no written notification except a few here and there, which have provided a lot of historical evidence. But the Muslims said, no, we don't know what is going to happen. Our leader, Jinnah, is going to give us instructions. But they all knew. And the Hindus kept on joking about it. Then the Muslim League government in Bengal, they declared 16th August to be a holiday. And then on 16th August morning, people were surprised to find that the Premier of Bengal, Sarawardi, had called a meeting in the Calcutta Maidan in which he made a very radiant speech. And after that speech, these Muslims who had assembled in that meeting just went out and started looting Hindu houses, burning them, killing them. And in the police and the military were just sitting ducks. They did nothing. The first day and the second day went like that. Hundreds and possibly thousands of Hindus were killed during these two. But the Hindus at this time, the Hindus got rid of their non-violence and they decided that something would have to be done. Then the Hindus organized themselves, and on the third day of the riot, that is from the 18th of August 1946, they started hitting back. And their hitting back was with such force that the Muslims were forced to withdraw. Sarawardi was forced to call out the police and the military and quell these disturbances. By this time, an estimated number of some 12,000 people had been killed. It could be 12,000, it could be 15,000. Normally, the number of people killed are determined by counting the dead bodies. But here, dead bodies were not known because a whole lot of bodies were thrown into the Hooghly River. Some were pushed into manholes. They were rotting in the sewers, and people just didn't know. So that was that. Dr. Mukherjee at this time was helpless because he did not have any governmental power, and his party was nowhere near in power. So Dr. Mukherjee, he just lambasted, because he was a member of the council, was a Bengal council, he lambasted the premier, Sarawardi, in horrible language. Horrible means refined language, but extremely hard-hitting language. So much so that Sarawardi would squirm at his appearance. That is all that he could do. But through this, the whole world came to know what a horrible thing had been unleashed on Bengal by an elected government. What an elected government could do to its own subjects. Later on, we shall see the same thing happen in Pakistan. Now we shall come to another two great achievements of Dr. Mukherjee before I conclude. The next achievement is not the greatest. The last one, the greatest I have saved for the last. The next achievement was the Noakhali riots. They were actually not riots. Noakhali was a pogrom. A pogrom means a total destruction of a minority by a majority. This term is basically Russian. It came from the persecution of Jews in Russia. And in Noakhali, which was the 80% Muslim district, right now it is in Bangladesh, and it has got 97% Muslim population. It's the 80% Muslim population. They set upon the 20% Hindus and did terrible, terrible persecution, torture, killing, burning, arson, everything possible. Now, Gandhiji, we all know that Gandhiji went to Noakhali. What did he try to do? He tried to persuade. He did not talk of any guilty being brought to book. Instead, he was trying to persuade the killed Hindu, the tortured Hindus, to come back to their half-burnt homes. Who would come back? Just on the assurance of Gandhi, who would come back? The Muslims were not prepared to listen to Gandhi in Noakhali. So nobody came back. They all came to West Bengal. And now we come to the main achievement of Dr. Mukherjee. But before that, just one point. In Noakhali, a lot of Hindus had been force-fed with beef, sometimes mostly from killing their own cows. Because at that time, the belief was that if a Hindu has been force-fed beef, then he could not come back to the Hindu fold. Now, Dr. Mukherjee at this time saw that this was going to cause a decimation of Hindus. So he and Swami Madhavananda, who was the president of the Ramakrishna Mission at that time, they got together all the Pandits of Bengal and they published a booklet in which they said that there is no question of people going outside the Hindu folds. They were Hindus, they are Hindus, and they will remain Hindus. And eating beef will not, force feeding beef will not make any difference at all. And there will be no talk of prayashchitta. At that time, there was talk of prayashchitta. All right, he has eaten beef. So if he wants to come back to the Hindu fold, then he must feed some 100 Brahmins and all that. Dr. Mukherjee said, nonsense, nothing of the sort. They will come back to the Hindu fold. They were Hindus, they are Hindus, and they will remain Hindus. That is how the entire Hindu population of Noakhali was prevented from mass conversion, mass enforced conversion. But the Muslims didn't mind because they wanted the property of the Hindus. The Hindus were property. They wanted the properties of the Hindus and they wanted to drive out the Hindus. So Gandhiji's appeal didn't get got zilch. Nothing happened as a result of his efforts. Nobody came back to Noakhali. No Hindu could come back to Noakhali, and Gandhiji could not persuade a single Muslim to bring back the Hindus to Noakhali. Nothing of the sort happened. But Dr. Mukherjee at least was able, with the help of the other persons that I mentioned, to keep the Muslims, to keep the Hindus within the Hindu fold. Now the most important achievement of his, that is the creation of West Bengal. Congress conceded Pakistan in about February or March of 1947. Lord Mountbatten had come as the viceroy and he was pressurizing both parties of coming to a solution, transfer of power and partition, and Congress conceded partition because the leaders were very eager for coming to power. They could see that after all these years of serving, of going to jail and getting beaten by police, they were about to become prime minister. So Nehru simply could not hold himself. He conceded Pakistan. He said, all right, you have Pakistan. I want to be the prime minister of the rest of India. And Gandhiji had already anointed him the prime minister. Then Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee said that if you are going to partition India, you must partition Bengal also, so that the Hindu majority parts remain outside Pakistan. I will not let the Hindus live as dhimmis, say third-class citizens in an Islamic state. And he started mobilizing Hindu opinion in favor of it. And he was so persuasive and his appeal went so far that even the Bengal Congress finally agreed with him. And as a result of that, the whole of the state, the entire Hindu population of the province, both West Bengal and East Bengal, agreed to partition of the province and creation of West Bengal as a part of India. And that is why we Bengali Hindus, speaking about myself personally, our ancestral place was in East Bengal. It was in a place called Brahmanbaria, which was Muslim majority. If today there would not have been any West Bengal, I don't know where I would have lived. Because in Pakistan, I would not have liked to live as a third-class citizen, as a dhimmi. That would have applied to most of the Hindus. But by creating West Bengal, by providing a refuge, by providing a sanctuary for the beleaguered Hindus of Bengal, he did the greatest achievement of his life. For most people outside Bengal know Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee for his achievements in Kashmir, as a result of which Nehru's and Sheikh Abdullah's conspiracy of almost alienating Kashmir fell flat because Dr. Mukherjee exposed them, and in the process, of course, he had to sacrifice his own life. Such things happen to great men, but his greatest achievement while he was alive was in the creation of West Bengal, whereby Bengali Hindus Chatterjees, Banerjees, Mukherjees, Ghosh, Bose, Datta, Das, Mandal, Saha, everybody. We can hold our heads high and we can say that we are not dhimmis. We are first-class citizens of a first-class country. This was something that would not have happened without Dr. Mukherjee, and he alone could bring it about. Now, the Jinnah would not accept it. Jinnah got very upset because at that time, Calcutta was the first city of the country. It was, in fact, even called um, the second city of the British Commonwealth. So, what could he do? He first tried to dissuade the Bengali population, Bengali Hindu population. They wouldn't listen to him. They would listen to Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee. Then he tried another subterfuge. Through the agency of Sohrawardi, the premier, and Sharat Chandra Bose, Netaji Subhash Chandra's elder brother. Together, they hatched a plan of independent, united, sovereign Bengal. That is a Bengal which would be united and which would be separate from India. And it would have a different constitution from the rest of India. And this was put before Lord Mountbatten, the British ruler, and the rest of a lot of other people. Nehru sort of accepted it halfway, didn't quite accept it. One person who, on behalf of the main Congress, the central leadership of the Congress, who was strongly against it, was Sardar Patel. Sardar Patel said nothing doing, and he used the strongest possible language against Sharat Chandra Bose, who's a respected leader, no doubt, but he used the strongest possible language against Sharat Chandra Bose and said that I am dismayed to find that you have taken yourself completely outside the mainstream of the outside the national mainstream. No way you are going to get a united independent Bengal. And the idea died. And thank God that it died. And thank God for this great, great person, Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee, to whom we owe our very existence as Bengali Hindus. Now, subsequently, there were certain events leading to his death and incidents after his death, which were used very skillfully by certain parties, principally the Congress, to make people forget. But it is not possible to make a large number of people forget a person who was really great. Because, as Lincoln said, you can fool some of the people for all the time, you can fool all the people for some time, but you cannot fool all the people for all the time. That is what the Congress, some of the Congress people and the communists tried in respect to Dr. Mukherjee, but they did not succeed. And as a result, Dr. Mukherjee today shines out like an icon for Bengalis for the great achievement that he has done. And I am particularly fortunate that I got the chance of writing his biography. His biography has now been published in 3 languages, English, Bengali, and Hindi. I have myself written the English and the Bengali versions, and the Hindi versions were a translation done by one of the publishers. They are selling well. People are getting to know of Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee, and the great man who deserved to be known is finally getting to be known. And for that, I thank God. And that brings me to the end of my talk. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, people who have listened to me, for patiently lending me your ears and listening to my talk. I have to express my gratitude to certain organizations such as Ritam Bangla and Praggata, who are doing their best, who are doing a wonderful service to humanity and particularly to Bengali Hindus, for giving publicity to this great man, Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee, who had been made to be forgotten by certain interested quarters. I'll presently come to who those interested quarters are, but the truth cannot be suppressed. You can't fool all the people for all the time. And that is why I thank Ritam Bangla and Pragota and all other people who had been instrumental in organizing this talk. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Bharat Mata ki Jai.